Talk about Morris Al-Khadesh. The Rhodian Morris Al-Khadesh settled in Elizabethville, and after working for the Benatars, opened a store in 1912. He sold clothes, eventually opened up a clothing factory, collected and traded in ivory, and eventually became a billionaire. Together with his brother Joseph, he opened up stores in Elizabethville, Albertville, Camina, Lulaburg, Stanleyville, and Bukavu. In 1925, he initiated the creation of a covered market in Leopoldville, now the capital Kinshasa. During the Holocaust, he managed to escape from Belgium and flee to the United States. After the war, he returned to the Congo. In 1949, he settled in Leopoldville, where he established a Pepsi Cola factory and a clothes factory. He had an amateur art collection and financed art schools and a theater. He also was the honorary consul of Israel. After some 4 years of political turmoil during the early independence of Zaire, Morris and the other Rhodian Jewish businessmen wagered on Mobutu as future leader, financed his political expenses, and when he carried out his coup d'etat, he gave Morris the concession for Coca-Cola in Zaire. After his death, during all the political upheaval and violence in Zaire in the 1980s, Morris's heirs could not manage his companies and lost his wealth. The American Jewish leader Israel Goldstein and his wife visited Morris in his home in Leopoldville, 250 miles east of the Atlantic Ocean. Goldstein noted that Morris supported a group of about a dozen African artists, each receiving a weekly sum of the equivalent of $20, a very handsome sum at the time, and his local house was cluttered with paintings and sculpture made by African retirees. Goldstein noted that Al-Khadesh also had a residence outside the city and maintained a home on Central Park South in Manhattan, New York City. There were also 72 Jewish families in Leopoldville. Jacqueline Benatar and her twin sister Miriam were 2 of 5 children of the family of Ezra Benatar and Lucy Israel Benatar, who grew up in Albertville in the Katanga region. They were only one of 2 Jewish families that she remembered. Ezra was a wholesale merchant of fabric for black African women who made their own clothes. Lucy spoke French to Jacqueline and her siblings. Lucy arrived in the Congo at a young age, and Ezra came from Rhodes at the age of 19. Ezra's father in Rhodes was religious, but Ezra was not and didn't even know the prayers. Jacqueline recalled her mother's traditional Sephardic cuisine of boyos, borecas, special quiches from Rhodes, and fritada de tomates. Other delicacies included bolemas, marzipan, curabia, and almond pate, and maruchino, another marzipan-type dessert. Lucy, the homemaker, was also made fritada di pazi, spinach quiche. Their challah on Shabbat was called la rosca, a round like bread looking like a sandwich. They also had a lot of stuffed vegetables. In general, Jacqueline noted that the Ashkenazim and Sephardim got along well in the Congo, and they were only differentiated by food. She also noted that Rhodian girls from the Congo either married men from Rhodian families or Ashkenazim if they migrated to Rhodesia, Johannesburg, Atlanta, or elsewhere in the United States. Jacqueline and Miriam made Aliyah and have MA degrees from the Hebrew University in Judeo-Spanish. Jacqueline works at Yad Vashem in the Dapei Aid Oral Testimony Department and raised money for the Rhodes Memorial Foyer at Yad Vashem. Miriam married Jimmy Pimienta of a culturally active Judeo-Spanish speaking family from Tangier, and they live in Brussels. Jacqueline and Miriam wrote the book De Rhodes à Elizabethville, l'Odyssée d'une communauté Sepharade, From Rhodes to Elizabethville, the Odyssey of a Sephardic Community. Jacqueline had a lot of time to play when she was a little girl. A train track separated their house and the lake Tanganyika. One had to be careful of the crocodiles. She played by the lake for a good part of her childhood. Africa for her was paradise. On the shores of the lake, she played with Italian children. Unfortunately, once she saw her friend, a boy named Mario, get eaten by a crocodile. Jacqueline learned how to detect and avoid the crocodiles. When they left the water, they turned a sand color and blended in with the terrain. In her yard, she had poisonous snakes and noted small poisonous snakes in the banana bushes. She also remembered the native blacks fleeing when they saw small poisonous snakes. At age 12, Jacqueline learned at a local Catholic school and was taught by the nuns. She started high school in Albertville, but went to Belgium for the last 3 years. She felt very confined there in boarding school after living in the open Africa. So there are 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and they have this connection to roads, even in the summers, from Africa, from the bush, in the middle of nowhere where they lived, in the northern Kasai. They would go to Rhodes for a holiday, for a vacation, and go to the beach in the summer. And Rhodes is a cardinal part of their identity. They speak Judeo-Spanish. They're not religious. They're very pluralistic. They're very cosmopolitan. In Belgium, the girls were in Habonim, but they're politically conservative. The Jews of Rhodes were revisionists. There's a lot more to talk about, but we don't have time. But it's an interesting array of people. So the Benatars are very wealthy, and the Al-Khadefs are very wealthy. Jacqueline's family was normatively middle class, very culturally Jewish, but that distinguishes these Rhodian Jews because they are very active cultural Jews and lightly traditional Jews who observe holidays, Shabbat. They're not religious, but they maintain this very strong Sephardic identity with the language, with the cuisine, and with the identity.